Możemy zaczynać? Cześć, cześć, cześć. Witajcie w Hackerspace. Today talk will be in English, so I switch to the English. Guys, sorry, there is no presentation. As always, I will start with the usual talk about what is Bitcoin, how to deal about what's the problems and why we some guy that named Satoshi Nakamoto created it. So I start with a question to you guys. Do you know how many bills are in how many by percent bills in the circulation in Poland? No. I answered the question. The 3.5% of all of the money that you use, it's the bill, the paper money. So the rest is the not government money. It's like it's virtual money, truly speaking. Do you know how to create virtual money? Yes, it's easy. You just open the database and add zeros, and banks just do that. Why it's wrong? Why it's easy? Because if you add zeros in some database, you create the inflation. Inflation is also the great name for inflation is happy tax. Because nobody knows that he's paying the tax, so he's happy about that, because all of that, the guy that's named group of people named Satoshi Nakamoto, creating something like that, like a Bitcoin. The Bitcoin is like the first of it's the technology, it's a network, and also because there is some network to transfer the money, there also need to be the money. So the Bitcoin is also the money. Everyone see the price of the Bitcoins like it's going up or down, but the most important thing in Bitcoin is not the money, it's opportunity to send to anybody on the planet and every time. It's not important that you have the bank account or even have ID. In some countries, half of the nation didn't have the ID, so they even cannot open the bank account. And the Bitcoin give the possibility to earn some money, to spend that money, to earn that money, to work for that money, and it's really important. Maybe in Europe we didn't understand why Bitcoin is so important, because we have the banks that works usually okay, and we have the SEPA transfers that we send money to any country in Europe in 48 hours. But if you try to send your money to China, it will be a little bit problematical. But usually people don't send money to China, Africa, Asia. They sometimes use PayPal to transfer money to the USA. But if you want to try send money to the China, your receipt will get it in maybe 4 days, maybe a week, up to 28 days. So it's a lot. And sometimes he didn't get it because one of my clients told me that it's not, I don't know, month ago was, he sent $100,000 to buy miners, and the seller didn't get that money, and he gets that money back, but he lose around 6,000, something like that, because the bank turned back that transfer and say, I don't know, but I will not transfer that money because something goes wrong, but I need to get a fee for transaction that didn't get, because we change Polish zloty to dollars and we just give our provision for that, our bank fee. So banks work bad right now, and if you use Bitcoin, your client will get that Bitcoins 1 second, and it's not important that he have a company, didn't have a company, that he living in the country that there is government or there is no government in that country. If he done work, he will receive the money. And it was why the Bitcoin was so important. And here, sorry, it's in Polish. I back it. Nie, to jest na nagrywanie. To jest, bo nagrywamy teraz. There is a lot information about the blockchain. What is the blockchain? The blockchain is just a database that have one really important thing, but only one thing, that every addition to that database, so it's in the blockchain, it's the block, have the hash of the previous one. So it's only one thing. And because of that, it's really secure only if you use it secure. Because if you store it on one computer, or even several computers, or several databases but on one server, it's not important, because if you will hacked, the attacker, sorry, we are in the hacker space, we don't use the word hacker to wrong things. The attacker will just change every database on your computer. But if you have around 15,000 of these databases on 50,000 of the computers, it's really hard to change something, and it's like the Bitcoins work and many other cryptocurrencies. But if you get information that the blockchain is secure because it's blockchain, the guy who told you that, he's wrong. So it's really important that to understand that blockchain is a special kind of database that if you search on one computer or several computers even, it's truly speaking not secure. It's secure when you use the possibility to sort on so many computers the same database, the same blockchain, not the small blockchain like there is a lot of possibilities to there is a lot of ideas that you can store for some computers you will store the whole blockchain, for the another you store like half to the blockchain, and for the second you store the 10% of the blockchain. It's wrong. If you want to store the blockchain, you need to store the whole blockchain. It's if somebody tells you that it will be okay if you store the 10% of that, it's not true. If you want to try to fun a little bit with storing information on blockchain, there is a app that my company created, and it's posted on GitHub on Mint license, and on this link you will see the possibility to get some name coins, because you will need it to use that app, and try to post some hashes of apps, some hashes of your files on Namecoin blockchain. Why it's funny and why it's useful? If you post something into the to the blockchain, it will never die until the internet will die, but probably we die before the internet, so for us it will be not important. But what is the hash? Who didn't know what is the hash? Okay. I know that you know, but okay. So the hash, the easiest way to say what is the hash is the like a fingerprint of every file. So if you change a dot or space or one letter, one something in that document, the hash will be absolutely another. So it's if you create a agreement with the bank. We didn't like the banks, but if you need to do agreement with the bank, you can just put it or scan it and put it to the and hash it and put it to the blockchain, or I don't know, just pick up some PDF file that you get from the bank and just hash it and also put to the blockchain. And if you will get that file and you know which file, in which block you post that hash, you will have the 100% that adverb or that agreement or that photo or that, I don't know, if you write a book, that book was created before that you posted it on the blockchain. So you have the possibility to show, in Polish it's like potwierdzenie daty. I spoke with the lawyers, they says that it's like the same, that's the urzędowe potwierdzenie daty. So yeah, the date confirmation. So it's like if you go to the court and you say, hey, I get the hash of that document on blockchain, it's like 100% that that document was created before the day that it posted on the blockchain. And why I choose Namecoin for that app? Because Namecoin's second one oldest of the cryptocurrencies in the world. The first was yes, it was Bitcoin, and it's have a little small fees. So if you get some Namecoins from that website, you can send around 1,000 files to the hashes of the files to that blockchain. So it's a lot to try it, and it's not costly because it's less than a cent for one hash. So it's really cheap. So just try it, see it, and it's on the open source license, so you can contribute it. And as I mentioned, I'm Stanisław Wołoch, and I'm from Quark company. We have the local Bitcoin exchange. There is some in Warsaw on the Świętokrzyska Street, as you see, and there is another one in the Elbląg and also in the Opole. But we are right now in Warsaw, so you probably want to use the Warsaw one. If you want to join the family of the local Bitcoin exchanges, please contact me. So, guys, that's all. And there is a second. In 1 minute, will be a second meeting about the Bisq, the decentralized exchange, and maybe there is some questions for that I told you a few minutes ago. Są pytania? Nie ma pytań, świetnie. So 1 second, don't go anywhere, and we will. Zapraszam cię. So in front of you there is a Bartek, one of the devs of the Bisq, and you start already microphone.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right. So sorry. Okay. So it's your turn.
Awesome. Hello everyone, nice to meet you. My name is Bernard, and I'm a software developer. I contribute to Bisq since early 2018, and I would like to tell you about this decentralized exchange, peer-to-peer, KYC-free, and well, it is run by a decentralized autonomous organization. The model, how it is financed and governed, is very interesting. And I hope you will find this presentation interesting. Here is a little agenda. I want to tell you first how centralized exchanges work, the risk associated with that, then the Bisq approach, and finally a few words about the Bisq autonomous organization. So, if you've got some crypto assets that you want to sell, you need two things. First, you need to find the buyer and make sure that they pay. Because unlike in traditional payment systems, you cannot revert the transaction. You cannot ask for chargeback. On blockchain, usually on most of blockchains, you cannot reverse the transaction. So here is centralized exchange model. So you got two anonymous, two strangers, Bob and Alice. They want to transact, but they don't know each other, so they go to one of those popular websites where they sign up. Usually they have to provide the ID so that the exchange can do the proper KYC. They register accounts and their ID. They have to transfer fiat money through the traditional banking system to the bank account controlled by the exchange. The other party needs to transfer the crypto funds to the wallet controlled by the exchange. And finally, they make requests to create the entries in offer book. And if the offers overlap, the centralized exchange would automatically match them. They don't have to manually pick each other's offers. But does Bob control the funds, the withdrawal? Here, Bob controls only this one direction. He can send the funds to the exchange, but then, although he's got this nice UI where he can type address where the money should be sent back and the amount, well, it's actually a request that he's making, and it's the centralized exchange that has to do the actual transfer, both with the fiat and crypto funds. So, first problem is that centralized exchange can block your access to its functionality, because everything, all the logic, happens in one central place. You can imagine that there's like one server, and you have to connect to it. And in order to do that, you have to that exchange has to authenticate you, and that way they can effectively deny you access to that. So you cannot transact at any moment. They can stop you from transacting with any other peers. They can decide that they don't want to send your fiat back for any reason. Same goes with cryptos. But what you gain is this auto matching of the offers. Usually liquidity is high, at least on those few major exchanges, and usually it's fast, and you've got the security illusion. Okay, so some other problems with the exchanges, that they hold those big bags of your cryptos, and those are because they have to control those wallets. They are full of funds. It's a really nice target for hackers, and most of exchanges have been hacked in more or less severe way. Sometimes even the employees or the owners of those exchanges can't resist the temptation of running away with the funds. Government can shut down the company, because usually centralized exchanges are belong to some company which is registered somewhere, and thus government can go after them. The company behind the exchange can go bankrupt, or the exchange, even if it's legit and has goodwill, it can lose the access to traditional banking system. So even if they would like to send back you your money, then bank simply doesn't want to work with them anymore, and even holds their funds. So what if there's no company behind the exchange? Because to me, this is like the most severe point of failure. And just like Bitcoin or Torrent, the exchange is an open source software and the protocol, and it works in peer-to-peer manner. And this is the approach that Bisq is taking. So here are some main features. It is anonymous, so you don't have to register and provide any ID. The communication runs over Tor for additional privacy. Basically, you just download the desktop client, so it's an app, and you start it, and you're automatically connected to other peers. And you can start transacting. It is open source, so developers, anyone can fork the code. You can browse it right now. You see how it works. If you like, you can fork it and have your own copy run from that source. Or if for some reason the developers do something wrong that you don't like, you just can fork it and start your own network. Peer-to-peer communication. So there is no central server there. When you start this application, it connects just to the few pre-configured nodes that will serve you as a discovery for other peers. And once you discover any other peers, you can your client, those initial seed nodes can go down, and you still are able to connect to others. So it works just as BitTorrent or Bitcoin. Users control their funds because there is built-in Bitcoin wallet inside this application. And your funds never leave to some central server. They are not held by any third party. There are few exchanges that claim themselves as being decentralized or peer-to-peer, but usually that's the only aspect of this decentralization, that the wallets are controlled by users. But for example, there is a central server with the functionality itself. So there is you need to connect to some, using the web browser to some server, and if you are denied access on that level, then you cannot transact. The project is self-funded because when traders transact, they have to pay a small fee. This is in Bisq token, which is a colored coin on top of Bitcoin. And when they do the trade, they have to pay this fee, and the way they pay is that they destroy the Bisq token. So that's the demand side. And the supply is when contributors do some work, and community votes on compensating them. So any one of you could do something for Bisq, and on monthly basis create an entry inside the app requesting to remunerate you with 100 Bisq tokens or whatever, and then the whole community will vote on monthly basis, and if enough people vote that you should be compensated, then new tokens are being generated for you. So that's the supply. And the community controls the spending. So by voting each month, all of you can control if you want to have some feature developed for this application or some efforts to be done in some certain direction. Any questions so far? Okay, so now to the protocol, how this decentralized trade works. So one person publishes the offer. It's actually broadcasting a message to other peers that, hey, I would like to sell Bisq tokens and buy Bitcoin, or I don't know, I want to buy Bitcoin with Monero. And if there's anyone else who would like to take your offer, they just select that offer, click the button, and at that moment, the funds are being sent to special multi-sig wallet that none of those parties could open by themselves. And it can be opened only with 2 out of 3 keys. So 2 keys, one belongs to the seller, one to the buyer, and one to the arbitrator. That's the special role so far, a trusted person that in case of dispute would decide which way to send those funds. And once those parties consider the trade as completed, then they just click a button inside the application and sign the transaction that would send the funds to the other party. So once the trade is created on the blockchain, it is created right now on the Bitcoin blockchain. You have to wait for one confirmation, and for example, the Bitcoin buyer, if they want to buy with traditional like fiat funds, they have to go to their bank or any other channel that is supported by Bisq. For example, it could be Zelle or Venmo, and pay. Excuse me? Revolut, yes. And pay to the Bitcoin seller. Then once money arrives to the Bitcoin seller, then they confirm that they received the funds, and that moment is when the funds are being released from the Bitcoins are being released from this multi-sig address, and they go to the Bitcoin buyer. And now I would like to go over the UI, how this would work from inside the application. First thing you need to do, if you have to create the payment accounts, and you can have fiat accounts or altcoin accounts. And those are details that only the other party that transacts with you will see, like nobody else. And it is used for that other party to identify you. And in case when there is the dispute, so that the arbitrator knows how to identify your payment if you would like to send them a proof. So here I would like to sell my BSQ tokens and buy Bitcoin. So I go to Buy BTC tab, and I see the offer book. It is filtered by BSQ token because there are other currencies that I could buy Bitcoin with. I could buy it with Euro, US dollars, or some other cryptocurrency like Monero. Here we've got the Bitcoin amount and the price, and Bitcoin amount can be either fixed or a threshold. That means that the seller wants to sell a maximum of 0.03 Bitcoin, but he's okay if he wants to buy less. That's because the other party has to manually take the offer. So if I would decide that I want to take one of those offers, I have to click this take offer to sell BSQ. I would see this screen when I could adjust the amount if it is a threshold. I can decide if I want to use Bitcoin or BSQ tokens. BSQ is much cheaper. This is used for paying the transaction fee for the Bisq network. Now you see the confirmation model, and it lists what exactly makes this total amount that you have to deposit to this multi-sig wallet. So first is the security deposit. This is the amount of money that you can lose if you misbehave and you don't, for example, don't send the fiat. If I am the buyer and I take the offer then the other party has to lock the Bitcoin into multisig wallet. Battery is okay.
Okay.
Okay, so if I want to buy Bitcoin, if I take the offer, then I am effectively locking the funds of the seller. And if I just leave this trade for like a week, then, well, that other party is losing because they could sell it for a better price or sooner. So that's the amount that I could lose, and it is supposed to incentivize me to conduct well and to complete the trade within appropriate time window. Then there's a trading fee. This is the amount that is being paid to the Bisq network for using the service. And finally, the mining fee. This goes to the Bitcoin blockchain miners because this is the amount of the transaction, the multisig transaction is being actually recorded into the Bitcoin blockchain, so we have to pay something.
Let's switch to the microphone.
Okay.
Tutaj. Dobra.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, once I took the offer, then I have to fund this multisig address. So either I can use the built-in wallet, or I could transfer funds from my mobile application, for example, so from some external wallet. Once I fund that wallet, it will be discovered, and final confirmation is being shown. Make sure that you check the zeros because it's easy to mess up here. And now the trade is created. I am redirected to the portfolio, and I have to wait for at least one confirmation on Bitcoin blockchain. Oh God. Yeah. Once the confirmation is detected, you will be presented with the pop-up telling you how much of BSQ or other cryptocurrency you have to transfer and the address. In case of fiat, you will see probably the bank details of the other party. This is visible also on this screen. So now you have to, before you click this payment started, you have to actually make this transfer, because Bisq controls only the Bitcoin funds. And if you've got like Monero or would like to pay with euro, this is not controlled by Bisq at all. So you have to go to some external app or to the bank, make the payment, and then you come back here and press this payment started. So now, since I'm selling my BSQ tokens, those tokens, well, there is also built-in wallet for the BSQ. So there's a wallet for Bitcoin and BSQ. So I go to the DAO tab, BSQ wallet, send, and I paste those two pieces of information, so the amount and the address of the Bitcoin seller, and I have to come back here and press the button payment started. And now I will see this information that the other party received this message, and we are waiting for them to press like similar button, but that button will say that payment received. And once they press that button, that means that they confirm that they received the money, and there is another transaction created to release the funds from this multisig wallet. And the security deposit goes back to the seller, to me, and I'm also being granted the the Bitcoin that I was buying. It is also very possible to conduct this trade without doing any real transfers, because it's a protocol here. So you just I can press the button that payment has been started without starting actually the payment, and the other party can click the button that they have received the funds, and then the trade is completed. But that's stupid, and there's like no going back. So before you press the button that payment has been received, make sure that you really received that, and because otherwise you cannot open the dispute. In case when the trade times out, because for example SEPA there is like 5 days, for money order it's 8 days, for altcoin it's 1 day or 1 hour for altcoin instant. So you've got different time windows to conduct this trade. After this period expires, any of the parties can open a dispute, and this means that parties will be able to communicate with the using a chat built in this application. They will communicate with arbitrator, and they will have to provide the proofs that they did their job well and that the other party did not. So most of the trades that land in the arbitration, it's because somebody did not understand how the flow works, or there was some like goodwill error. There were a few scammers there and few problems, but usually most of that is just like innocent error that usually people then fix. Yeah, and after you conduct the trade, successful or not, then make a backup, because the database is stored on your drive in one directory, and well, something can go wrong with your hard drive. Make a backup, because there is no central server where you could download the history from. Here I wanted to show you how the fiat volume works. Well, we can't see. This is like April 17, April 18, July 19. This is around 50 Bitcoin. So total amount of Bitcoin being transferred monthly, it's 50 around July 2019. So not much. It is much more in terms of crypto to Bitcoin. In July 2019, it was slightly below 3,000 Bitcoin. And the best volume, best liquidity is on the Monero Bitcoin pair.
For no reason.
Yes, this screenshot has been taken on Wednesday, September 11th. So we've got 40 offers in US dollars, 26 in BSQ, 25 in Monero, 22 in Euro, DAI 13, British Pound 9, and then there's a list of very little, very liquid markets. But in terms, but in case of volume, then BSQ 12, Monero 21 Bitcoin at one moment. Okay, so now the limitations and inconveniences. You need to have some amount of Bitcoin or BSQ up front. It is very little because it's just to pay the fees, so it's like $5, something like that, worth of Bitcoin. It's best to just get BSQ because it is much cheaper, but still you need some Bitcoin for the mining fee.
You need Bitcoin to buy Bitcoin.
Yes. So, because you have to either you want to trust some party to secure your trade, or you need some crypto funds to secure it in a decentralized fashion. But it is inconvenience. It's not that you just have money, you register on Coinbase or other exchange and you press the button to buy Bitcoin. There is a limitation of amount of Bitcoin that you can sell or buy in single trade.
It is only for fresh accounts, or?
Yes, only for fresh accounts created after March, I don't know, 2019 or 18. I think it's 19. Well, the reason is that the higher amount, the greater incentive for scammers. And the way that the scammers do is they use the chargeback mechanism. So usually they buy a stolen account, stolen bank accounts on dark web, and they are going to buy Bitcoin on Bisq. They will send you the fiat. So you will receive the fiat from some account. You will send them Bitcoin, but then the victim who that account was stolen from will discover it probably and will try to prove to the bank that they were attacked, and banks can reverse the transaction. So you will send the Bitcoin that can't be rolled back, but your fiat can be charged back. Yes, and it's much slower than on traditional centralized exchanges because there is this aspect where you have to do it manually. We're working on APIs so that people can write trading bots to provide liquidity and to conduct the trades much faster, but this is still work in progress. Oh yeah, and the final one, well, you lose your keys, you lose your funds. You are really your own bank here. So I think that for many people, backup of course, but privacy and security is very hard. It is very hard to do it properly. Yeah, so you, because the application is running on your laptop or other machine, data is stored on your hard drive. Even if it is encrypted, still somebody can steal that data and try to hack it. So make sure that no malware is there. The other one is that due to the nature of this because Bisq is peer-to-peer, the way that the transactions are being published, they are not published in any central offer book. They are being broadcasted to the network. And in order to make sure that those transactions, those offers are not published for eternity, they time out after 5 minutes. So you have to keep on broadcasting them every 5 minutes so that the network knows about it. Yeah, because if you would like to do it the other way, that we just publish it once and then it's our responsibility to send information that it is not valid anymore. Then the clients that are shut down may never send the closed offer message to the network, and well, we're screwed. We don't know when to time it out. So there's 5-minute timeout for offer, and you need to keep on broadcasting. And thus you have to.
This is not stretching of the documentation, because I don't hit this in any material that it have to when you are a seller. So when you are not taking but creating offer, you have to have a open application.
Yeah, you have to.
So because maybe this is why there's not so many offers, because people don't know or remember about that.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, when you've got your offer published and you try to close, you will get a pop-up. Hey, you got the offer published. Are you sure you want to close? Maybe you want to disable those offers. So there is a mention about that. Any questions so far? Yeah, so it's nice to have decentralized exchange, but it costs to develop it, and we know that developers are not cheap. Those are highly skilled people doing some really useful stuff. So how do we fund the thing? And so we could do like ICO, raise $1 billion, and then, I don't know, just pretend. But here is how nicely it has been implemented. Guys started decentralized autonomous organization. And the way it works is that if you want to conduct the trade, you have to pay the fee, and the fee you can pay with BSQ tokens. When you pay them, you burn, and the BSQ is created when the whole community agrees to remunerate somebody, to pay to the contributors. So contributors are the people who provide support on social media or our forums, who record tutorials, who do the translations, or who develop the code. And each month, it is actually, the cycle is expressed in number of blocks on Bitcoin blockchain, but usually it is around 1 month. We have a voting. So everybody who contributed stuff creates an entry and sends this message to everyone. People read it and they can decide if they want to, if the work was actually worth the money that the people are requesting.
This token is using Bitcoin blockchain?
Yes. Yes, it's a colored coin. So you take like 100 Satoshi and you put some information that this is 10,000 BSQ, for example.
Yeah.
And in order to create new or transact or send those tokens, you still you have to obey some rules that are defined in the software. And it's like the only way to to communicate it with others.
DAO logic is in fact in the application.
Yes, yes, exactly. It's inside the.
It's not any Ethereum smart contract or anything, but
correct.
Inside the application.
Yes, yes. So here is an example of compensation request. So this M52Go guy did some documentation work, and he provided links to the pull request in the source code, and he requested 5,000 BSQ for that. He was also doing something for our YouTube channel, so another 500. So it's like total 5,500. And then he needs to go to the application and create the entry in order to prevent spamming and to actually generate those new coins. He's got to pay some small fee. And yeah, he provides a link to this ticket inside the Git repository, because in order to limit the amount of data that we record on the blockchain, the description of contribution is kept outside. So now stakeholders, they see the list of all the requests or proposals, and they can vote with thumb up or down. And they can lock up some amount of BSQ as to express the strength of the vote. So in order to have like more voting power, you need more tokens, but it's not the only factor. There's also some meritocracy in here, because apart from the tokens that you currently own and you lock up for the voting, also the tokens that you have earned previously are counted, and those tokens that you have earned within last 2 years.
You can lose the current tokens you put on vote or no?
No. They are just locked for the voting cycle, and after that they are released to you, and you can sell them. So if I would earn like 100 BSQ, then my voting power in the first voting cycle will be 200, because it's the 100 that I hold and 200 from this. No, it's not an airdrop, but from this, from the compensation. After 1 year, if I still hold those tokens, my voting power will be 150, because my contribution will gradually decay. I can also send this 100 BSQ tokens and still have 100 BSQ power from the compensation. But it comes only from this compensation. So when the tokens are generated, if I would just buy from somebody, it will not count for this.
It's always on the full amount of earned, or so you have earned 100 tokens and you can vote 1 token. It is your vote count as 101?
No, that's 1. So, no, well,
I mean these tokens I earned.
Okay, so you earned 100 tokens,
yes.
but you
1 token.
Yes, so you will have 100 plus 1.
Okay.
If you would vote with your whole amount, then you would have 200.
Okay.
Yeah, and that would be all, guys. So thank you very much for listening, and I would like to invite the questions now.
When sell it?
Excuse me?
Sell it. Everything is on the one address with one, and on the multi-sigs are on, because these multi-sigs are on free. But a full wallet is on the address starting with 1.
Mm-hmm.
Or is first.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's
not
that.
So cheap addresses. We have
Yes, I think.
To segregate can drastically lower the fees we have to pay.
Yes, probably yes, and I don't know what are the technical limitations that prevented us from that. I'm not sure. Any other questions? Yes?
What do you think needs to happen for people to adopt decentralized exchanges if people still can't even get into crypto and just try it on basic centralized exchanges? People still don't understand it. How long do you think it will take for this to become normal?
How long it will take for decentralized exchanges to take off and become mainstream? Well, I think that the central,
mainstream,
yeah,
just, I don't know, 5%.
yeah. I don't know. I think that very few people value privacy. So it is an option for those people, and I don't think that it's going to be very popular, because people value convenience over privacy and security.
This is why Bitcoin Monero is.
Yes, yes, that's exactly, because those are people who are privacy focused, so they transact Bitcoin to Monero, and they use Bisq, and they are very active in the community.
Look, if I remember correctly, documentation, if you want to run a full node for the people that can connect by you have to own BSQ tokens and be a part of the voting system or something. Because
yeah, so there are few things here. One is running like your own.
I want to be an arbiter, yes, or earn some bitcoins when people are transaction.
So if you, okay, so that's another thing. You can run your own Bitcoin node and make your Bisq application to connect to your node,
Okay.
and you don't need anything. You don't need to lock up any bonds. You can also run like the full DAO node, so but it tracks the BSQ transactions. So because it actually, this is a Bitcoin node that understands some of the BSQ logic. So still the same requirements as for the Bitcoin node, but it's only for you. If you want to make it like public and that the it is hard coded in the code in the list of the community provided nodes,
Yes.
I think that you will have to become a node operator and lock up some BSQ, and that's how.
Do you have another amount in dollars?
No, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I know only that arbitrators have to lock up 50,000 BSQ, which is equivalent of $50,000. So that's the way how we make sure that arbitrators don't do anything silly. If it will be detected that they collude with any party, at any point you can create a request to confiscate any bond on the network. So, and people will vote and decide if they want to really go that far, but we can really confiscate the bonds. And that's the other part of the governance of Bisq.
Was there any cases on that thing?
For arbitrator, no. Arbitrators were very honest people. There were cases where they made mistakes and sent like 2 Bitcoin the wrong way, and they had to cover it on their own. Yes, and it was at that peak.
Guys, any more questions?
Are there any plans to increase liquidity in other currencies than Bitcoin and dollars and so?
I think that right now, as to fiat pairs, it is the euro that is most liquid. We are trying to bootstrap new markets, but it is very hard as it's a classic chicken and egg problem.
Yeah, but any marketing plans and so, to attract people to this product?
Excuse me, could you
Any
speak?
marketing plans to attract people to this product?
Oh, if we have marketing plans, no, not much. Because we think how to do it on like grassroots level, so that it grows organically. So people are well in a decentralized fashion. Whoever is willing, they organize meetups, they go and present to people, organize workshops. But it's always hard to find people in a given market. Like for example, I know some African country or in India who would actually provide the liquidity, because those are the most important people.
Was the DAO ever considered hire a professional marketing company to promote this on large scale? So,
I don't recall any such proposal. I think that, well, you could try creating such a proposal. I don't. Okay, I can't. Honestly, I can't tell what's the like attitude in the community towards that. But I thought that it would be like pretty obvious thing, and since nobody is proposing, then seems that people are reluctant to spend funds that way. Other questions?
So, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. And there is some pizza. I see some pickup already, but before that, there is another person who wants to get a few minutes. Yes? It's the time for your microphone. Yes, sure.
Thank you, guys.
Hello, everyone, and yes, thank you so much for being so welcoming. I was quite astounded they actually switched the presentation to English just because of me. I was happy to try to just understand, but yeah, that was amazing. Thank you for the presenters, and just myself, how I ended up here. Basically, I'm in Warsaw just for the day. I was here a few days ago again. I'm staying in Woods. I'm considering moving to Warsaw in November. I'm working on a startup currently, and I come from fitness industry, so I was a personal trainer for a very long time, fitness, Thai boxing, things like that. That's my world. But then serendipitously, I met former chief communications officer of Ethereum, Stefan Twal. That was 2 years ago. He's one of the guys that was actually involved in the original DAO. And yeah, we just built a good relationship. He lost a lot of weight. I became fascinated with blockchain. And then I started actually doing some biz dev for him as well. I ended up in San Francisco last summer. And then since last summer, I spent a year like on and off, just hopping across the ocean like every few months, until last time they put me in secondary and then be like, you know, ESTA, you heard of ESTA? Yeah, it's you've been using it too much, so now I need to stay away from America for a little bit. But it's been amazing just learning about just the whole community over there in Silicon Valley. And blockchain is ridiculous. Everything is just like 10x, 50x at least. The events, the amounts of money that's available, all of that. And so lately what I'm working on, just briefly, so you might have noticed the t-shirt, Blockstack. I don't know if anyone has heard of it. Yes, no? Any hands? Some people have. Awesome. I'm not affiliated with the company. I don't work for them. I'm just a fan of their technology. By the way, I'm learning how to code currently, so I'm in the process of becoming a developer, but I'm like super green. But I'm actually working on a dApp, and I'm building it on Blockstack. And I have an advisor. I was hoping that he will become a co-founder, but now he got incredible opportunity for funding in San Francisco to pursue his own dream. He's actually creating something crazy at the moment, like a sidechain to Bitcoin and crazy stuff. But he's just an advisor. But he's kind of coaching me through the process of getting this app out there. And what it is, in a nutshell, I would describe it as a crypto-friendly, privacy-focused, gamified fitness coaching app. I don't know, it's quite a mouthful, right? Yeah, so it's well, fitness app, which is a dApp, decentralized app, right? So unless you have understanding about Blockstack and the way Blockstack dApps work, then it would be hard to really comprehend. But the thing about Blockstack is that they have this blockchain which is very light on the chain. You can actually use it in your browser, in your phone. It doesn't require a token or anything like that. So it's super user-friendly. As the guy was saying earlier, very few people actually care about privacy. And that is true. But as long as it can be done conveniently, then I think more and more people will start to care about it. If even Mark Zuckerberg is saying that, oh yeah, now we've focused on privacy, right? So that's what I'm working on. And I guess just if you want to have a chat about any of these things, fitness, Thai boxing, blockchain, Blockstack, all of that, yeah, just give me a shout. But yeah, it's amazing being here, and thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. So there is some pizza. This is all because I want to piece also. And it's good to see you today. And Remember, return to the next month. There is also a posted event on the next month on the meetup, as always. Thank you, guys. Dziękuję bardzo.